Welcome back to the Omnibuds Cafe. My name's Kevin, and today we're going to talk about Brian Michael Bendis's massive Secret Invasion storyline, something that he had been building to ever since the start of New Avengers. So grab your cup of coffee and let's check out this book. All right, Omnibuds, here it is, Secret Invasion by Brian Michael Bendis. This is the Omnibus edition. It does have an oversized hardcover, and we recently got a New Avengers by Brian Michael Bendis Volume 2, and it did not include this crossover, which is kind of crazy to me. So this book's still, I think, entirely necessary. But let's take the dust jacket off because we are not animals here. All right, here we are. Really cool wraparound cover I want to show you. Really cool art, probably by Lionel Francis Yu. But what is this story about and where does it take place? Let's have a look. So, table of contents, we start off with some New Avengers issues, and it really helps set the stage for what's going on with the New Avengers. Now, you have to remember, this comes on the tails of Marvel's Civil War, right? So the New Avengers are the anti-registration team. The Mighty Avengers are the pro-registration Iron Man team. We've got an assumed missing Thor from years back. Captain America is dead. Just the landscape has entirely changed. Then we get a Mighty Avengers issue, and then we get 2 issues from Brian Michael Bendis' miniseries called New Avengers Illuminati, which helps kind of build the start of this story. So let's take a look at it. So you'll get a little information on what's been happening in the New Avengers. This is really a New Avengers title. So let's dig into it. So we catch up with the New Avengers who are on the run from Iron Man and the pro registration and the initiative. And they're out in Japan doing something. They're trying to find Echo or something like that. And they run into the Hand, who has been led by Elektra for quite a while now. In fact, I think that might have taken place either in Daredevil or Wolverine, Enemy of the State, but she's been leading the Hand. But Echo puts a knife through her, and spoiler alert, because I can't not spoil this and tell you what the story is about, it's revealed that Elektra, or whoever she was a Skrull. How long was she a Skrull? How many Skrulls are out there? We don't know. So they're kind of freaking out, right? What does this mean? They're on this on a plane back, and they're deciding, what do we do with the body? And some of them think, we've got to give him to Tony Stark. Like, as much as we don't like Tony Stark right now, he's in charge of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the initiative. He's going to know what to do. And Spider-Woman is acting really weird throughout this entire thing. In fact, if you read the Brian Michael Bendis New Avengers run, she's been acting a little weird and kind of having these secret phone calls and sneaking off to secret meetings. So then we catch up with what the hell the Mighty Avengers are doing, and this takes place on issue 7 of their run. And their run took place or started right after Civil War, but they're fighting this symbiote thing. And at the end of this, Tony's in the hospital, and Spider-Woman shows up and says, we've got a problem. And she delivers the body, and now they're all trying to figure out what to do. And the assumption is, if one Skrull has been acting as Elektra this entire time, who else is a Skrull? Anyone could be a Skrull. And we get this theme of mistrust and, just kind of fear and trepidation throughout this entire book. No one knows who's who. And they assume that they're here for war. So then we get into this, the first issue of this miniseries written by Brian Michael Bendis called New Avengers Illuminati. And it's kind of a retcon telling how these characters here, years back all got together and decided, hey, we're kind of the leaders of these big teams, or we're, extremely intelligent or capable, and, we should get together and discuss these big events. And the idea is that the first meeting took place after the Kree-Skrull War, which took place in the Avengers. And the Kree and Skrull are at war. They've been at war for years. But that war kind of accidentally comes to Earth. And you'd have to go back and read the Avengers Kree-Skrull War to fully understand this, I think. But they do a pretty good job at filling in the gaps. So kind of a retcon or just expanding upon the mythos of the Kree-Skrull War. After the Kree-Skrull War, this Illuminati, which consists of Namor, Doctor Strange, Iron Man, Reed Richards, I think Black Panther's maybe in there, I forget, and Professor Xavier, they go to the Skrull world basically to deliver a message and say, you can never come to Earth again. If you do, we're going to be ready for you, and devastating effects. So they go out there and they blow up a Kree ship. Here it is. And during their escape, the Skrulls, and again, this is retroactively back in the 70s, capture them and start studying their biology, physiology, studying their brains, trying to figure out how to get back at the Earthlings. So we'll go into this a little further. New Avengers, we kind of figure out what's going on now back in America once they've returned and are dealing with this, are the Skrulls invading us? Where are they? Who's a Skrull type thing? So I think we're on the first issue here. Yes, so Secret Invasion #1. So we get hints of this infiltration across, multiple teams, New Avengers, Mighty Avengers. Suspicion is growing, and it's revealed that more and more characters are Skrulls. So Tony Stark, Hank Pym, and Reed Richards are looking at this body of what they believed to be Elektra and trying to figure out what the hell's going on. So we get our first clash here. They realize that there's this Skrull ship heading towards the Savage Land. And the New Avengers and the Mighty Avengers get out there because they both want to figure out what's going on. And it's a pretty cool issue because a few things happen. The Skrulls somehow infect Tony Stark with a virus, so they're trying to take him out. Also, why is Jarvis looking so weird? So the Skrulls have infected S.H.I.E.L.D., they've infected Stark Tech. At one point, they break into the Fantastic Four's home and they kind of unleash the negative zone, which ends up swallowing the Baxter building, kind of taking them out of commission. So now they know that they're being invaded. S.H.I.E.L.D. is compromised. Tony Stark's tech is failing. He's personally infected with something. Here's a Skrull version of Sue breaking into the Baxter building, and the negative zone ends up swallowing the building. So the Skrulls, off the bat, pretty big punches, pretty big swings to invade Earth. So they open the door to this Skrull ship that crash lands in the Savage and outpour a bunch of Avengers. We get Thor, who we think's been dead since, what was that? Thor Heroes Return 2. It was the disassembled crossover, Ragnarok. We get characters in old costumes. We get Captain America, who we think recently died on the tail end of Marvel's Civil War and in the Brubaker title. And they're all saying, like, we've been captured by Skrulls. We've been on this ship for a couple of years. We don't know what's going on, but Captain America saved us. Then you get the Heroes of Earth saying, whoa, 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 whoa. What's going on? No one knows. No one trusts anything. So as we go on, we learn that more and more people are Skrulls and probably have been Skrulls for, 6 months to a year, maybe even longer. So Hank Pym taking out Reed Richards. And that's a big theme of this book is Reed's brain. So we'll see later on as we go through this, the Skrulls know that Reed Richards is a very capable person and probably able to shut this thing down. So they want to go after the Fantastic Four. So we get this battle between the new Avengers, the Mighty Avengers, these potential Skrull Avengers that just came off this ship. And again, no one knows who's who. We're in the Savage Land. Chaos ensues. Well, while almost all of the heroes are here in the Savage Land, what's going on back home on Earth? So we're back to Manhattan. We've got the Baxter Building being swallowed. S.H.I.E.L.D. is down. And again, some other characters who haven't, their identity hasn't been revealed yet, but they're acting weird. And like I said, Spider-Woman, since the start of Brian Michael Bendis's run, has been acting pretty weird. So now we get the start of the global invasion. And the Skrulls launch a full-scale invasion on Earth, and it's led by their Skrull queen, Varanki, I want to say. And we learn a little bit more about their plan and what's going on. The heroes are divided. Sentry leaves Earth. Just, not a great start to this for the superheroes. So we learn more about what's going on with Tony Stark. He's still in the Savage Land, and no one knows who's who. And actually, a pretty cool conversation happens. I forget where. I probably missed it. But someone reveals themselves to be a Skrull, and they tell Tony Stark, like, you're a Skrull. You've been working for us this entire time. You probably don't remember. And that throws Tony for a loop as well. So really cool. We get to see the return of our Thor. We don't get a lot of them right off the bat. In fact, J. Michael Straczynski at this time is writing The Return of Thor and his Thor title. But this is really the first time that the world gets to see Thor back in action. So we go on a little further, and the other big reveal in this book is what has Nick Fury been doing this whole time. So at the start of Brian Michael Bendis's run, he does this story called Secret War. Not Secret Wars, but Secret War. And I reviewed it, and I'll try to put it up here somewhere. But the events of that have Nick Fury kind of going underground and disappearing for a long time. Well, we learn what he's doing. He's building a team to save Earth. So we're still back on the heroes are still back on the Savage Land trying to figure things out. A lot of these characters that came off this Skrull ship who looked to be heroes that we know and remember did in fact turn out to be Skrulls. Just, furthering the confusion and fear. Trust breaks down. Anyone at this point could be a Skrull. We've got key leaders of teams, government agencies that are revealed to be Skrulls. Just a really scary time. So we get this big battle. We're back here on New York, I think. I think we're in probably Central Park. The Watcher shows up. That's never a good thing. In fact, there's a funny line here. I think Brian Michael Bendis wrote Peter Parker really well. But he's like, it's never a good thing when the Watcher shows up. Or he said, at least the Watcher's not here. And then all of a sudden the Watcher shows up. So this story is kind of coming to a close. And, without giving away too much, there's a lot of people that help save the day. But one of them turns out to be Norman Osborn, and he's leading the Thunderbolts at the time. And the result of this story, and the reason I like this is because it has such broad implications for the 616. This leads directly into Tony Stark being removed from leading the Initiative, from leading S.H.I.E.L.D., because this all kind of happened under his watch, and the president giving that authority now to Norman Osborn, and thus starts the Dark Avengers era. So that's the end of the main title. We see Norman, kind of taking over, but then we get into the tie-in issues. Now, normally I really want the tie-in issues interspersed with the event, but the way they mapped this book, putting the New Avengers and Mighty Avengers tie-ins after the fact was really cool, because what they did is they kind of bounced back and forth between time. So now we're here at the end of the Kree Skrull War, after the Illuminati has come and blown up their ship, and we've got the current leader of the Skrulls and Queen Varanki, kind of this spiritual leader, at odds about what to do and what their plans are and how they end up. We get this really cool shot of Galactus and the Silver Surfer. So we learn kind of what their plan was and how over time they have been infiltrating Earth. And it really ties together Brian Michael Bendis's New Avengers, starting at issue 1, where we had the breakout at the prison, and then moving over to the Savage Land and looking for vibranium. So it really just ties the entire arc together and tells you how the Skrulls invaded and how deep their plans were. So again, Norman Osborn is now viewed as the hero. This is going to lead directly into Dark Reign / Dark Avengers, where the villains started having all of the influence. But I really like the tie-in issues being at the back end, kind of this retrospective of how it all happened and filling in some gaps. I think it would read really weird if these had been in the Secret Invasion. It also talks about how House of M almost threw a wrench in the Skrulls' plans. So again, really tying in everything that Brian Michael Bendis had been working on leading up to this. And if you read his New Avengers title, you kind of know that there's this underlying mystery. Someone's pulling strings and they don't exactly know what's what. But a lot of things happen, right? The Avengers break up. We get the start of the New Avengers team. We get Fury's secret war. That moves into House of M. And then shortly thereafter, we get the Secret Invasion. So the Marvel Universe has been crazy during this time. So it's really cool that this title, the tie-ins were able to kind of tie it all together in this tight little package. The last few issues of the New Avengers title is more kind of fallout from the event itself. So at the end, we see Luke Cage's daughter, Luke Cage, and what's his wife? Why can't I remember her name? Jessica Jones. There we go. Their daughter is stolen by a Skrull, and this Skrull's kind of holding on to this baby as basically my get off the planet free card. So we get the New Avengers, who are again not pro registration. They're kind of on the outs with the law. They go ask the Fantastic Four, who are pro registration at the time, for help in finding the leftover Skrulls and finding their baby. But this story overall is really cool. The extras in this book are a lot of cover variants. We get the funeral of someone really important. I don't want to give it away, but let's take a look at some of these covers that are really awesome. Some black and whites, just pencils. We get this really cool interview with Lionel Francis Yu, who did all of the art for the main title. I love Lionel Francis Yu's art. We get something here with Brian Michael Bendis, just an interview kind of talking about, the lead up to Secret Invasion and what he wanted to do. And then the promo stuff. If you were buying comics while this was coming out, this stuff was so cool because this was all over the comic shops. Who do you trust? And just anyone can be a Skrull. And we get a timeline of kind of how to read it, if you want to read it in order or if you want to read it based on how they mapped it in this book, which I think is perfect. Brian Michael Bendis' planning sheets, some concepts, but let's see here. There's something really cool I want to show you. Yeah, just the promo stuff that was coming out and embrace change, right? The Skrulls are here and they're here to stay. So this stuff was really awesome to see. But that, my friends, is Secret Invasion by Brian Michael Bendis. Love this title. What do you all think? So I love Brian Michael Bendis' Secret Invasion. I'm a big fan of his New Avengers era and everything that he did there. I love that he tied the Secret Invasion back to the Kree-Skrull War from, I think, took place in the Avengers in the 70s. Did a little bit of, not retconning, but just kind of expanding upon that mythos and what we didn't see back then. This takes place during an era where I believe these crossover slash major events actually mattered. This one had significant fallout. It spawned the Dark Avengers era. We saw the return of Thor, the battle between the Mighty Avengers and the New Avengers. I really like the way this is mapped. I'll say that in most scenarios, I would like the crossover events or the tie-in titles in between the event. But the way that this one is mapped was perfect. Having a couple New Avengers issues right up front to kind of get you up to speed with what's been going on with the New Avengers after Civil War, and then we get the hell was it called? Illuminati. The Illuminati issues where we start getting that tie-in to the Kree Skrull War from 40 years ago. I thought that was really cool. Then we get the event. Then we get the New Avengers and the Mighty Avengers issues that kind of show retrospectively how the Skrulls over time invaded the world. So absolutely love this one. Let me know down in the comments what you think of Secret Invasion, and we'll see you on the next video.
If you're looking for great deals on collected edition comics or manga, we recommend shopping at panelboundcomics.com. They offer free shipping on orders over $30, plus bundled discounts to help you save even more. And if you're shopping from Europe or the UK, comicsbugle.com offers free EU shipping and a rewards program for regular buyers. Don't forget to use our discount codes at checkout.